Welcome to today's episode. I'm Emily, and today we're talking about something every English learner faces: the struggle of stop thinking, start speaking. Have you ever been in a conversation and suddenly frozen up? You know the words, but your brain just stops. You think about grammar, pronunciation, and finding the perfect word, and then nothing. You're not alone. We've all been there. But don't worry, today we're going to help you break that habit. We'll talk about why you overthink and how it affects your speaking. Most importantly, we'll show you how to get past it so you can speak more naturally and confidently. Get ready to stop thinking and start speaking, because this episode is for you. Let's dive in. In today's episode, let's talk about why many English learners tend to overthink before speaking. It's something that happens to most of us. And honestly, it's not your fault. Overthinking comes from fear, a fear of making mistakes. We've all been there. You're in the middle of a conversation, and suddenly your brain freezes. You know the words, but you hesitate. You worry about saying something wrong, about getting the grammar or pronunciation wrong. And that moment of hesitation, it can make you stay quiet. You don't want to make a mistake, so you say nothing at all. But here's the thing: overthinking is a habit, and habits can be broken. Let's dive into why this happens. For many learners, there's a deep fear of being judged. The fear of being wrong is real. You don't want to sound silly or be laughed at. This fear builds up every time you think about speaking. The pressure to be perfect becomes overwhelming. And when that happens, you freeze. Another big reason we overthink is our desire for perfection. We focus too much on making sure everything is correct. But in doing so, we forget the real goal: communication. You don't need perfect grammar to communicate well. If you spend all your time thinking about the right word or sentence structure, you'll miss the chance to express yourself. Let's take a moment to reflect on the process of language learning. In school, we're often taught to focus on grammar rules and vocabulary, but most of the time, we're not taught how to speak naturally. We're taught to be perfect, to pass tests, not to communicate in real life. The classroom often focuses too much on correctness, but in the real world, it's communication that matters more than perfection. And that's where things get tricky. The more you try to speak perfectly, the more you hesitate. Your fear of making a mistake keeps you from speaking. You might be thinking, I know the rules, but why can't I speak easily? Well, it's because your brain is overloaded. When you try to translate everything from your native language into English, it slows you down. You start thinking about vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation all at once. It's like trying to juggle too many balls. Your brain gets tired, and suddenly you forget what you were going to say. Here's another interesting thing: the way you feel affects the way you speak. When you're nervous, your speech slows down. You may even start stammering or saying and while you try to find the perfect word. But remember, that's okay. Everyone does it. The problem isn't your English, it's the pressure you put on yourself. Overthinking makes you feel like you're not good enough, even though you're perfectly capable of speaking. Now, let's talk about confidence. When you're afraid to speak because you think your English isn't good enough, it makes everything harder. Confidence plays a huge role in speaking any language. If you don't believe in your ability to speak, you're less likely to try. And if you wait until you feel perfect before speaking, you'll never speak. The truth is, speaking is how you get better. It's through practice, making mistakes, and learning from them that you become fluent. So, if you find yourself overthinking, remember, it's not your fault. It's a habit that has developed over time. But the good news is, you can change it. The first step is recognizing it. Once you understand why you overthink, you can work on breaking the habit. The key is not to be perfect, but to be brave. Speak without fear of making mistakes. And with time, you'll notice the difference. Overthinking may feel like a barrier now, but once you stop worrying about being perfect, you'll find that speaking becomes much easier. And when you start speaking more, you'll get better faster. So next time you feel that freeze, take a deep breath and just speak. It's all part of the journey. And guess what? You're doing great. Welcome back. In this part, let's talk about the consequences of overthinking when speaking English. You may think overthinking just makes you feel nervous, but it actually affects how you speak. It slows you down and stops you from fully expressing yourself. Imagine you're having a conversation and you're thinking too much about grammar or finding the perfect word. While you're stuck in your head, the conversation keeps going. And guess what? You miss your chance to speak. That's frustrating, right? You know what you want to say, but you can't say it because you're too busy thinking about how to say it perfectly. Overthinking doesn't just affect the flow of the conversation, it also creates stress. When you're focused on being perfect, your mind gets overwhelmed. The pressure to speak flawlessly becomes too much. And suddenly, your brain goes blank. You start saying things like, or never mind, which only makes the situation worse. It doesn't help your confidence either. It makes you doubt yourself and wonder, am I really good at this? But here's the truth. You're not the problem. It's the overthinking that's the issue. Overthinking creates a mental block. When you put too much pressure on yourself to be perfect, you stop trusting your ability to speak naturally. You freeze up. And over time, this mental block becomes a habit. The more you overthink, the less you speak. And the less you speak, the less you improve. It's a cycle that's hard to break. You start avoiding conversations, staying quiet, and making excuses not to practice speaking. But guess what? Speaking is how you get better. The more you speak, the more comfortable you become, and the better your English gets. It's also important to note that overthinking doesn't just stop at your ability to speak. It affects how you feel about yourself, too. When you overthink, you start to feel like you're not good enough. That feeling can lower your confidence and make you want to quit. But overthinking is not the real issue here. It's the fear that holds you back, the fear of making mistakes, the fear of not being perfect. And when you let that fear control you, it stops you from fully enjoying the conversation. Think about all the missed opportunities, making new friends, sharing your ideas, or simply enjoying a good chat. Overthinking steals those moments from you. It holds you back from connecting with others. So, how do we stop overthinking? First, we need to realize that mistakes are part of the process. Making mistakes doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're learning. The more you practice, the more you get used to speaking without worrying about being perfect. And the more you speak, the more confident you become. With every conversation, your fear of making mistakes will slowly fade away. It's all about breaking the cycle of overthinking. The first step is to stop putting pressure on yourself. Don't worry about being perfect. Focus on the message, not the method. Just speak and don't be afraid of mistakes. The more you do it, the easier it gets. Remember, the goal isn't to avoid mistakes altogether. It's about building confidence through practice. When you stop overthinking, you start to enjoy speaking, and that's when real progress happens. So, next time you find yourself overthinking, take a step back and breathe. Let go of the pressure and just speak. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect. What matters is that you're speaking and improving. And trust me, you're doing great. Keep going. Welcome back to the podcast. In this part, we're going to talk about the benefits of speaking without overthinking. It might sound surprising, but letting go of the fear of perfection can actually help you learn faster. Yes, really. When you stop worrying about making mistakes, you free yourself to speak more naturally. Fluency is not about having perfect grammar. It's about speaking easily and confidently. Think about little kids. They learn to speak their first language by simply talking. They don't wait until they're perfect. They speak, make mistakes, and keep going. And that's how you should approach English too. When you stop overthinking, your speech becomes faster and more natural. You begin to respond more quickly in conversations. Your brain learns to put together sentences automatically. This is what we call fluency. It's about flowing with the conversation, not stressing about every single word or sentence. Another benefit of speaking without overthinking is that it helps you remember words and phrases better. When you speak freely, your brain starts to notice patterns. It remembers words you use often and stores them for future use. You're actively learning as you speak. This is why it's so important to practice speaking regularly. It helps your brain retain vocabulary and structures more effectively. The more you speak without overthinking, the more you build confidence. At first, it may feel uncomfortable, but that's normal. Each time you speak, your brain realizes, that wasn't so bad. Over time, your confidence grows. Speaking without fear becomes easier, and soon, you'll feel much more comfortable in conversations. And here's something even more exciting. Making mistakes while speaking is actually helpful. Mistakes are an essential part of the learning process. When you make an error, you can correct it and improve. This trial and error process makes you more aware of what works and what doesn't. And most importantly, you'll learn from your mistakes. Now don't worry. Most native speakers don't care if you make a small mistake. They appreciate your effort to speak their language. In fact, they understand that language learning takes time, and they'll often help you if needed. What matters most is that you're trying. They value communication, not perfection. When you stop overthinking, you also start communicating more effectively. People will understand you more easily, and you'll understand them better too. Speaking is the key to improving not just your language skills, but also your confidence and ability to connect with others. The best part is that when you stop overthinking, learning becomes fun. Conversations become enjoyable because you're focused on the message, not on being perfect. You'll find yourself participating in more conversations, making new friends, and feeling more confident every day. So, remember this. Stop worrying about being perfect. Instead, focus on the process of speaking and learning. Every conversation is an opportunity to improve. Every mistake is a step towards fluency. And each time you speak, you're getting one step closer to your goal. Keep going. Welcome back. In this part of the podcast, we'll dive into some practical tips on how to stop overthinking and start speaking more naturally. We've talked a lot about the problem, so now it's time to focus on the solution. Ready? Let's go. The first step to breaking the habit of overthinking is to practice speaking out loud, by yourself. Yes, you heard that right. Talk to yourself in English. It might feel strange at first, but it's incredibly helpful. You can start by describing what you're doing or what you see around you. I'm making coffee, or I'm walking to the park. It may sound simple, but this habit trains your brain to think in English, which helps you speak more naturally. Another great way to practice is shadowing. Shadowing is when you listen to a native speaker and repeat exactly what they say, word for word. It's like echoing their words in real time. It's a fantastic technique for improving pronunciation, rhythm, and fluency. Start with short clips, maybe a YouTube video or a podcast episode, and try to repeat what you hear. Don't worry about getting everything perfect. Just focus on matching the rhythm and the flow of the speaker. This will help you sound more natural when you speak. Next up, let's talk about using simple phrases. If you're a beginner, don't stress about making complex sentences. Start with short, simple phrases that you're comfortable with. For example, instead of saying, I would like to have a cup of coffee right now, just say, I want coffee. The simpler, the better. Over time, you'll build more complex sentences. But in the beginning, focus on speaking more often, not perfectly. Another technique that can help you break free from overthinking is quick response speaking. The goal here is to get your brain to react faster. Ask yourself simple questions and answer them immediately. Don't stop to think too much. For example, what did you eat today? Answer quickly without hesitation. I ate pizza. That's it. The goal is to make your responses as quick as possible. This will help you react faster in real conversations. Now let's talk about recording yourself. This might feel a little awkward at first, but it's an excellent way to improve. When you listen back to yourself, you can hear your pronunciation, your sentence structure, and where you might need to improve. It's like having your own personal feedback loop. Plus, you might surprise yourself. You'll often find that you sound better than you think. These techniques might seem small, but they are incredibly powerful. The key is consistency. If you practice speaking every day, even just for a few minutes, you'll see improvement over time. It's not about being perfect from the start, it's about making progress every single day. You'll start speaking more naturally and without overthinking. Another important tip is to embrace mistakes. Don't try to avoid them. Mistakes are part of learning, and they help you grow. When you make a mistake, it's just a chance to learn something new. The more you speak, the more you'll improve. Remember, every time you speak, you get one step closer to fluency. Don't be afraid to speak, even if you feel like you're not perfect. Finally, try to make speaking fun. Find ways to enjoy the process. You can role play situations, talk to yourself in the mirror, or even challenge yourself to speak for 30 seconds on a random topic. The more fun you have, the more motivated you'll be to keep practicing. And the more you practice, the more confident and fluent you'll become. So, take these tips and start practicing today. Start speaking out loud, shadowing, using simple phrases, and reacting quickly. Record yourself and embrace mistakes. Don't worry about being perfect. Just speak. The more you speak, the more you'll improve. And soon you'll feel confident speaking without overthinking. Welcome back to our podcast. In this part, let's focus on making speaking practice more fun. We all know that practicing a new language can feel like hard work. But what if I told you that speaking practice doesn't have to be boring? It can actually be fun. Let's dive into some creative ways to make practicing more enjoyable. One great way to make speaking fun is through role playing. This is when you pretend to be in a real life situation and practice speaking out loud. For example, imagine you're ordering food at a restaurant. You can practice saying, "Hi, I'd like a coffee, please." Or, "Can I see the menu?" You can even switch roles, be the customer and the waiter. This exercise makes you feel more comfortable with real life conversations. It's also a great way to practice new vocabulary. The best part? You can do this at home, in your kitchen, or anywhere you feel comfortable. Another fun idea is to talk to yourself in the mirror. Yes, I know it sounds funny, but trust me, it works. Talking to your reflection helps you practice speaking and builds your confidence. You can talk about your day, your plans, or even how you feel. It's a mini performance, and no one's judging you, just you and your reflection. You'll start noticing how your voice sounds and how you express yourself. This is a great exercise to improve fluency and gain confidence without feeling the pressure of a real conversation. Next, let's try a 30-second challenge. It's simple. Set a timer for 30 seconds and then speak nonstop about any topic. You can talk about your favorite food, your last vacation, or your favorite hobby. The goal is to keep speaking without pausing or thinking too much. This exercise forces you to think on your feet, helping you react quickly and naturally in real conversations. It also makes you less afraid of making mistakes. It's a fun way to improve your fluency in a short amount of time. Another fun activity is describing random objects around you. Look around, pick something, and describe it out loud. For example, you could say, "This is a red cup. It's made of plastic, and I use it every morning for my coffee." It might sound simple, but it's a great way to practice vocabulary, sentence structure, and fluency without the pressure of a formal conversation. Plus, it's a fun way to challenge yourself to use new words and phrases. If you like games, you can make speaking practice into a game with friends, or even by yourself. For example, play a game where you describe an object and the other person has to guess what it is. Or you can give yourself a topic and try to speak about it for 30 seconds without stopping. It's like a speaking race. Making it a challenge or a game makes learning more exciting and helps you stay motivated. One final fun idea is to find a speaking buddy. This can be a friend or a language partner. You can have conversations on topics you both enjoy, and you won't feel the pressure to be perfect. It's a fun way to practice speaking without the fear of judgment. It also makes speaking feel more natural. You'll get to learn about each other while improving your language skills at the same time. The key takeaway here is that speaking practice doesn't have to be a chore. The more you enjoy the process, the more likely you are to keep practicing. If you can make speaking fun, you'll stay motivated and make faster progress. So, whether it's role playing, talking to yourself in the mirror, or challenging yourself with quick speaking exercises, make it enjoyable. When you're having fun, you stop focusing on mistakes and start focusing on communication. That's when you become more fluent and confident. So get creative and try out some of these fun speaking activities. It's time to make your practice sessions something you look forward to. Let's go. Welcome back. In this part, we're going to explore the importance of overcoming the fear of making mistakes while speaking English. We all make mistakes, right? But did you know that mistakes are actually an essential part of the learning process? Yes, they are. In fact, mistakes can be your best friend when it comes to learning a new language. First, let's talk about the fear that holds us back. For many learners, making mistakes is terrifying. We worry that people will judge us or laugh at us. This fear stops us from speaking and practicing. But here's the truth: nobody is perfect, and everyone makes mistakes, especially when learning something new. Even native speakers make mistakes from time to time, and it's totally normal. So, why should we fear them? Mistakes are an opportunity to learn. Each time you make a mistake, your brain is actively processing and learning from it. It's like a mini lesson that helps you improve. When you speak, you may get a word wrong or use the wrong tense. That's okay. In fact, that's the only way to improve. The more you speak, the more mistakes you make, and the more you learn. You might be thinking, but what if people laugh at me? Well, here's the thing: most people will not laugh. In fact, most native speakers are happy that you're trying to speak their language. They'll often appreciate your effort and be more than happy to help you. The reality is, the people you're speaking to care more about your effort and communication than whether your grammar is perfect. Let's imagine this scenario. You're talking to someone in English and you make a mistake. The person might correct you, but they're not judging you. They're helping you learn. That's the key. When you make mistakes, it's a chance to get better, not worse. The best part about making mistakes is that you can correct them. You can practice saying the word or sentence correctly the next time. It's like building a better version of yourself each time. Each mistake is a step towards fluency. So, don't be afraid of making mistakes. Embrace them. They are part of the journey. Another point to remember is that mistakes can make you more human and relatable. When you make a mistake and laugh it off, it shows that you're learning and that you're not afraid to try. People love that. It makes the conversation more relaxed and enjoyable. Plus, you might even get some good laughs together. One thing to keep in mind is that fear of making mistakes often comes from a desire for perfection. But perfection is impossible. Instead of aiming for perfection, aim for progress. The more you practice speaking, the more you improve. It's about being consistent, not perfect. So let go of the pressure to be perfect and just focus on speaking and learning. Mistakes also build your confidence. The more you speak, the more mistakes you make, the more comfortable you become with the language. Soon, you won't even notice the mistakes you're making. They'll become part of the process. And when you look back, you'll realize how far you've come. Remember, the goal is not to avoid mistakes, it's to learn from them. If you want to improve your English, you need to make mistakes. Mistakes are stepping stones that help you reach your language goals. The more you make, the faster you'll improve. So, next time you make a mistake, don't panic. Laugh it off, learn from it, and keep going. The more mistakes you make, the closer you get to becoming fluent. Mistakes are not failures. They're proof that you're learning and growing. In conclusion, mistakes are a vital part of language learning. Embrace them, learn from them, and enjoy the process. The more you speak, the more you'll improve. Don't let the fear of making mistakes hold you back. Keep speaking, keep making mistakes, and keep learning. Welcome back to the podcast. In this part, we're going to wrap things up by talking about the key message: how to stop overthinking and start speaking confidently. We've covered a lot of ground, and now it's time to focus on what you can do to change your habits and become a more confident speaker. Let's dive in. First of all, let's talk about how important it is to stop worrying about being perfect. A lot of learners get stuck because they focus too much on grammar, pronunciation, or finding the perfect word. But here's the truth: nobody speaks perfectly all the time, not even native speakers. The goal is to communicate, not to be flawless. So, it's time to let go of the pressure. Overthinking leads to hesitation, and hesitation stops you from speaking. If you're always waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect words, you'll never speak. Instead, focus on just speaking. It's through speaking that you improve. It's important to remember that fluency isn't something that happens overnight. It's a result of consistent practice. You can't wait until you're perfect to speak. You have to speak to get better. Start small, start simple, but start speaking today. Another powerful way to overcome overthinking is to practice regularly. The more you speak, the more natural it will feel. Don't let fear hold you back. When you practice speaking, even if it's just for a few minutes a day, you'll build confidence and improve your skills over time. Let's talk about confidence for a moment. Confidence doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from doing it. The more you speak, the more you'll realize that mistakes aren't the end of the world. They're just part of the learning process. The more mistakes you make, the faster you'll improve. So, be brave and keep speaking. Each time you speak, you'll become more confident. Now, what happens when you start speaking more confidently? You'll find that conversations become much easier. When you stop worrying about making mistakes, you free yourself to focus on the message you want to share. Conversations become more enjoyable because you're not stressing about the details. You'll be able to express yourself freely, and that's the key to communication. It's also important to surround yourself with support. Find people who encourage you to speak, who help you feel comfortable making mistakes. You don't have to do this alone. The more you practice with others, the more you'll improve. It's okay to make mistakes in front of people who are there to support you. One thing we've learned from today is that overthinking and perfectionism are the real obstacles. If you can let go of the idea that you need to be perfect, you'll find that speaking becomes much easier and more fun. Focus on communicating, not on being flawless. When you let go of that pressure, you'll be amazed at how much you improve. In conclusion, the key to overcoming overthinking and speaking confidently is practice. Start speaking today. Don't worry about making mistakes. Every time you speak, you improve. Every conversation is a chance to learn. So don't wait for perfection. Speak now, speak often, and speak with confidence. You've got this. Thank you for listening, and remember, stop thinking, start speaking. And that's a wrap for today's episode. To sum it all up, remember that overthinking is one of the biggest barriers to speaking English. But the good news is, you can break that habit. The key is practice. Start speaking without worrying about making mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. They are a natural part of the learning process. The more you speak, the more confident and fluent you will become. So don't wait for perfection. Speak now, speak often, and don't be afraid of mistakes. Every conversation is an opportunity to learn and grow. You don't need to be perfect, just brave and consistent. Keep going, and remember, fluency is something you create, not something you wait for. Thank you so much for listening today. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and most importantly, stop thinking and start speaking. See you in the next episode. Next.